Today we're talking to a group of our selected brokers here in the greater Baton Rouge region to talk about a brand new product, a new concept in healthcare delivery. As we work to redefine the way that we deliver healthcare services to our customers, we know that the way that we've done it in the past just is not the way that it's going to be for the future. So we're here to introduce a brand new design, a delivery reform design model for 2012 and beyond.
What we're announcing today is really a first of its kind in the state of Louisiana program that is focused on providing better value to healthcare stakeholders, patients, doctors, employers, etc.
What is this going to mean for the average patient?
Well, for the average patient, I think this is going to result in much better primary care. Much more of a focus on the patient being the center of care, and them having a better understanding of their disease and what they need to do to either maintain their health, improve their health, or restore their health. And the physician, driven by having the data about that particular patient from the health plan, from the physician's electronic medical record, they are now looking at a patient in terms of a population instead of an individual. And by doing that, they manage care much more differently than they do today.
How does this differ from a traditional insurance program that many people currently have right now?
Well, I think the key is going to be the data that the health plan provides to the physician in the patient-centered medical home and to the team of providers taking care of a population of patients. Today, a physician in a primary care office, a general primary care office, does not have this type of data available. And the incentives are not aligned for them to try to really, they want to improve care, but a lot of times they don't know whether they've improved care or not because they don't have data. So unless you can really measure something, you don't know if you've improved it. Having the data is making a big difference because now physicians understand what their patients are doing outside of the four walls of the medical practice. They know who's going to the emergency room, why they're going to the emergency room, who's being admitted to the hospital, how long they've been in the hospital, who's taking their medications faithfully and who's not. Just information they don't have today that we're now going to have available for them to help manage that population of patients much more cost effectively to drive better outcomes at better cost, better value overall.
How will the emphasis on primary care physicians as opposed to specialty physicians, how will that affect the program?
Well, first of all, there is a vast gap between what a primary care physician is reimbursed for their services and a specialist is reimbursed. In America, we are very, very enamored with specialty care because they have all of these new whiz-bang technologies, procedures, etc., that are promulgated out in the press as life-saving and things like that. So everybody wants to get that new technology. And there's no incentives or disincentives for them not to get the technology because we have an entitled sort of population when it comes to healthcare. So they want to go straight to the specialist to get what they think is the best care. But studies have shown sometimes this high-tech care is not always the best care for every disease, for every patient. For example, somebody has a cardiac catheterization. Studies have shown that some people don't need that cardiac catheterization. They can be maintained with good health on medications, lifestyle modification, things of that nature. So, you take a lot of cost out of the system by limiting some of those high-tech procedures. So I think it's important because primary care, this model is very important because primary care physicians, and I'm a primary care physician, are trained to take care of about 85 to 90% of everything that walks into their office. It's that 10% that they have to refer out to other specialists because it's a little bit more complex, difficult than what that primary care physician feels comfortable taking care of. So in a perfect world, you wouldn't need all of these specialists. In Denmark, for example, that has a per capita cost half of what we have in America, has quality that's the top in the world. They have 70% primary care physicians, 30% specialists. In America, it's the reverse. We have 70% specialists, 30% primary care. So you can see you follow the money, where it goes, and it goes to the specialist and not to the primary care. So under this new model, I think what we're trying to do is get the primary care physician recognized for the value that they really bring. Studies have shown they bring a lot of value to the healthcare sector and to patients. But if they're not reimbursed for taking care of this entire spectrum of care, acute care, preventive care, chronic care, and behavioral care, and all they're doing is focused on acute care, then they aren't going to be really utilizing the tools in their tool belt fully. And for example, under the fee-for-service model, I as a primary care physician can see 3 or 4 people with cold, sore throats, little ditzels on their skin, and make as much money seeing those 4 as I see just one patient with multiple medical problems like hypertension, hyperlipidemia, diabetes, etc. So why should I spend my time with the one patient? I can turf them off to a consultant, a specialist, who will take care of them, and I can focus on the bread and butter stuff like sore throats and ear. I mean, it's terrible that it's come to that, but that's true. So these guys produce a lot of volume because that's how they get paid. Under this new model, it's all about providing outcomes instead of value. So now I'm going to want to take care of a sicker patient because if I can keep their total cost down, I'm going to share in some of those savings. Whereas today I don't have that ability. It's just fee for service, produce a lot of volume.
What kind of an impact will this have on people that tend to use the emergency room more?
Well, what we've seen in the patient-centered medical home pilots that have been conducted over the last 3 years in various parts of the country is that we see a significant decrease in the use of emergency room facilities, a decrease in the number of hospital admissions, decreased length of stay when you're in the hospital, less use of high-tech imaging like MRI, CT scans. So we really do see a better utilization of resources. Today, under the current model, people go to the emergency room for colds, sore throats. We've seen, like I said earlier, a 40% increase in ER visits in the last decade. 50% of those were unnecessary as far as being seen in an emergency room. Emergency room is really for life-threatening, limb-threatening, significant medical issues, not for somebody with a sore throat, an earache, or a little bit of belly pain. So what it's going to do is incentivize people to utilize their primary care physician first and let the primary care physician decide, do they need to see a specialist, do they need to go to an emergency room, that sort of thing. But today, physicians have no incentive to do that because they're not held accountable for total cost of a patient population. So when I'm held accountable for the cost of what you're doing outside of my 4 walls, I'm going to encourage you to come in and see me and not just go to the emergency room. You call a doctor's office right now, almost any doctor's office in this city, and it'll say, if you need a doctor, go straight to your nearest emergency room. There's no doctor on call to answer questions like we used to do 10 years ago. They go straight to the emergency room. Why? Because there's no incentive not to do it differently.
You mentioned the impact on patients of this new program. What will be the impact on doctors? What kind of feedback have you had from physicians already?
Well, the physicians that have been involved in this type of delivery model, patient-centered medical home delivery model, really have found their lifestyle has improved. Instead of seeing 30 or 40 patients a day and being on that hamster wheel just running from room to room, because it's a volume game right now, remember that. Under this new population-based, outcome-based approach, they don't want to see 40 patients. They want to focus on those 10 sick patients that really need their specialized training because they want to take the cost of that patient down. So now they're seeing 10 patients. They're doing a lot of things maybe by the internet, through email, through online visits, group visits, and they're letting their nurse practitioners and physician's assistants take care of all the sore throats and colds and things that they used to take care of, and now they're taking care of the patients they used to turf off to the specialists. So it's a completely different paradigm, and the physicians that practice in it really like it much more. It's why they went to medical school. It's why they became primary care physicians, and we're going to be having, some of those physicians at our Medical Home Summit here next week that are going to talk about how it's changed their lives and their practice.
I'm very excited about this. This is something we've been working on for some time through the system, and we're just excited to be the quality organization we are and to provide all the services needed. And we're the only full-service hospital in the area.
What kind of a benefit do you see to this program, to the patient and to the doctors?
Well, the benefit to the patients is the obvious one right off. They have lower premiums, but they don't have to sacrifice quality to get there. The physicians have access to a broader range of patients now because of the product that's available through the system.
What benefits do you see for the patient and for the doctors?
Well, we see a better outcome for the patients. We certainly see this is an opportunity to provide better access to primary care. And what we see is eventually a settling of premiums. The idea here is for us to provide, again, the right care at the right time at the right price. And by doing that, we think that it's going to squeeze out some of the inefficiencies that currently exist in the healthcare system today.
What kind of response have you had to it so far?
Well, it's early. We're just getting started. This program is designed to kick off January 1 of 2012. Our employees at Blue Cross will have access to this program. We're beginning to introduce this to the brokerage community tonight, and we'll see what kind of reception we get after tonight.
What kind of a role do you see programs like this having in light of what's going to be happening on a national level with healthcare?
Yeah, well, one thing we know nationally is that we cannot continue to do things the same way that we've done them for years. Status quo will no longer get us to where we need to be. So what we are doing is we are reaching out to the provider community, reaching out to businesses. We're creating something very innovative, and we're introducing it to the marketplace in hopes that we can begin to take the bull by the horns and address this affordability crisis that we're in today. So this program is designed, again, to provide better care, higher quality, better customer satisfaction and outcomes at a lower price.
When today's program is over, what would you like people to keep in mind?
Well, I want them to consider options and suggesting to their employer groups the Community Blue alternative. We know that it's not going to be for everyone, but certainly if they wanted to go in and make this offering available alongside of their other Blue Cross offering, an HMO or a PPO, we think that would be an appropriate strategy to employ.
I'm extremely excited about this, and there's some days I wish I was back in practice so I could be practicing in this type of environment. But the environment I did practice in, I was a Navy physician for 8 years, and then I worked at a large integrated healthcare delivery model in Texas called Scott & White Clinic. That's how we practice medicine, in a medical home type environment. So we were employed, so there were no real incentives for us to consume more health care than was necessary because we didn't get paid anything more. So we just did what was right, right care, right time, right place, right cost. So for me, this is just intuitive. It makes sense. That's how I was raised in my practicing. But I've never practiced in an environment where you just had a fee-for-service model. And I've been exposed to it now as a medical director for the last 7 years, and I see the data and I go, oh, this is ludicrous. It really is. And so I'm so glad that the medical home has, emerged the way it has and sort of taken the country by storm and is being seen as somewhat of a panacea to what's going on in cost, in quality, access, all the big issues that we're facing in this country.
If people have questions or like more information, what should they do?
They should contact their local broker or contact our local regional office.